Welcome everyone to another CTC Software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis, the Director of BIM Development here at CTC Software, and today we're going to be continuing the HIVE CMS Admin Learning Series, focusing very closely on public library subscriptions. The whole intent here is that we are going to talk through exactly how you can subscribe to a public library and use this within your firm so you don't have to upload content that already exists in the HIVE system that's been shared by others, in some cases Autodesk, in some cases manufacturers. We'll find out what that all looks like. Now, as always, of course, these webinars are recorded. And also, as always, if you have questions about today's topics, we encourage you to throw them into the questions window, which is something you can do when you participate with us live here in the webinar. And of course, as soon as this webinar is done, it's going to get processed and pushed up to our YouTube channel. So here's what we're going to be talking about in detail today. I mean, in some cases, libraries are great, public libraries are fantastic, but in the case of HIVE, the public library system really allows you to just leverage content that's already available. That's kind of the whole point. And I'm going to show you both how to create a public library today, maybe why you wouldn't want to create a public library, and also how to subscribe to public libraries specifically so you can browse through them. So we're going to kind of cover that all today. We're going to take a look at what they are, why you may or may not want to subscribe to it, or why you may or may not want to make your libraries public, and then also just go through that whole subscription process and show you exactly how that works inside the portal, and also kind of the effect that it has on the HIVE CMS itself. And since I'm not big on death by PowerPoint, I'm going to be jumping in and doing this live. Now, for those of you who are following along with me, you can do this directly from the ctcsoftware.com website. All of this is done directly from the portal, assuming you have CMS admin privileges or organization admin privileges. So first off, let's talk about what are public libraries. So I'm going to take and pull up the ctcsoftware.com website here, throw it on screen. I'm going to get signed into the portal myself. In fact, I believe I already am in my Express Tools account that I use a lot for demonstrations. I'm going to jump to the CMS tab and show you first what public libraries are. Here on the CMS tab, if you're a CMS admin or an org admin, you should be able to get here to public libraries. And when I click on that, it's going to go ahead and refresh that. I'm also going to be opening up HIVE here. I'm going to open this up on a different monitor for a moment, just so that it comes on the screen with the correct account. You can see on the main shared window here that there's a bunch of libraries that are all shared. Right now, there's 50 of them. 49 of them are available to me right now because I've already subscribed to one, and I can filter through these if I want to. You can also see exactly which of your libraries are public, if they're public. Most of you probably won't make your libraries public, but if you do, you'll see them listed here, and you'll have a little bit of administration for that as well. Okay, I'm going to pull HIVE also on screen and show you the effect of a public library, because again, right now I'm subscribed to one public library. We're going to let that refresh for a minute here. You can see I'm subscribed to the Autodesk English US Imperial out-of-the-box library. So in HIVE, the CMS itself, if I go to libraries, we'll see the Autodesk English US Imperial out-of-the-box library. You'll see that it's shared and that it's public, so I can actually leverage this, and this is content I don't have to do anything with. Nothing at all. It's all just available to me. I get all of this out-of-the-box content. I don't have to process anything up. It has a nice little icon there for it, same icon you see out here in the public libraries. But I can leverage this now because I can load any of this content direct into my project, and I never had to process it up. Okay, just exists. I can filter it, I can search it, I can include or exclude it. It's totally up to you. Okay, these, by the way, also, in case you're wondering, since this is the out-of-the-box content, when I select it here and go take a look at the details for it, right now today, most of this content is 2019 through 23. Looks like this particular library stopped at 22. But they're typically 2019 through 23 for most of the libraries, and we're working on 23 and 24 right now to get those published as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We tend to get that done as soon as is possible when the newer versions come out. This one here, the Imperial one, for whatever reason, isn't complete at the moment. Okay, so let's talk about the next major topic here. Why would you want to subscribe to a public library? Why would you want that? Well, again, I mentioned it before. You don't have to then add any of that content into the system. It just exists. It's already there for you. If you subscribe, for example, to a manufacturer-specific library, well, that's fantastic. When you subscribe to that, their content that they author is going to be up to date as they have it, and you don't have to recreate any of that or create it in the first place. So you can subscribe to libraries that way. Let's talk about how you can go through the exercise of actually subscribing to a public library. It's actually pretty straightforward. From the portal here, when you're on this either All tab or the Available tab, you can take any library that you want. Say I want English. I'm just going to filter for English here real quick and see what shows up. There's a whole bunch of English stuff. I probably should have filtered for a specific country here, but let's just say, I don't know, let's go English US metric. That's a good one. I haven't subscribed to that one yet. There's 18 current subscribers to it, but I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to that library. When I hit the little subscribe slider over here, I also get the ability with the user groups here to choose which users in my company can get access to that. I know many of you have regional offices, and you may not want all of your users seeing a specific region's Autodesk out-of-the-box content, or maybe you have specific divisions like mechanical, and you want those mechanical users to see specific manufacturer content, but not other team members. So you can choose of your users who's going to see this. Now, in my case, I'm going to choose the everyone group, so everyone in my company can actually see this out-of-the-box library. They're both the U.S. Imperial. I do the vast majority of my work in the U.S., so therefore all of my team members that are working in this environment will be beneficial, be benefiting from this particular library. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. Once I save that, it takes about a minute for the system to refresh, but then I can go back into the HIVE CMS environment, and I will be able to see that content in there. Okay, now similarly, in subscribing here, you may want to also know how you can unsubscribe from this content here. And so we're going to take a look at how that also can happen, because you may very well want to be unsubscribing. Hang on one second here. And trying to get the right page up. My Windows decided to be squirrely. So if you're over here on your subscribed area, this is a really quick, easy way to filter for what you are currently subscribed to. On this tab, you simply hit the slider again, and that will unsubscribe you and remove the groups from being subscribed. So now if I was to go back into HIVE, I didn't actually refresh it, but had I refreshed it, I would have seen the US metric, and now in about a minute, that US metric will disappear from their list because I'm only subscribed to one library. So the HIVE CMS would update accordingly. So I want to make sure we're talking about also how, if you needed to, if you're a manufacturer or you want to distribute your content publicly, how you can go through the exercise yourself of actually creating public libraries. So that's what we're going to talk about next. We've talked about some organization-specific settings before, but we're going to talk about the effect of one of those settings right now in the portal, because we're going to try to create a public library, and depending on what your settings are, you may see that you can't, and you can change that setting and turn it on. But again, before you do that, I want to explain some ramifications of that choice. So don't follow along with this until you know you want to, unless you want the world subscribing to your content, okay? So I'm going to go to my corporate libraries here. In my corporate libraries, if I edit one of these libraries, any one of them, let's just say my corporate CTC Express Tools library here, I can click the edit button, and with that, once it's popped up, I have the ability here to make my library public. You may or may not have that checkbox. If I click update, my Revit Content CTCE library will appear here in public libraries for all of you as well. Right now, if I did that, I didn't do that, so it's not going to appear here. But if I did check this box If I go back into Edit Library, one more time, come on, there we go. Make public. If I click update, which I'm not going to do, if I do that, it would appear in that list. That's how you make a library public. It's that simple. Here's the deal. You probably don't want any of your team members making public libraries, because when you do this, just like I was able to subscribe to the out-of-the-box Autodesk content, anybody else in the world could subscribe to your content and just use it freely. And you'd have no control over who they were when they subscribed to it. Now, you could always take your libraries and turn off the public. And if you do that, when you uncheck that, they all become unsubscribed immediately. That's what happens when you uncheck the make public option as the author of a public library. Everybody else gets unsubscribed and it disappears from the list. So what you probably want to do, though, if you're a design firm, architecture, engineering, civil, MEP, whatever, and you're not intending to make your content ever public to the rest of the world because you want it for yourself, right? If that's the case, I'm going to show you how to disable this button so none of your library admins have the ability to do this right here accidentally. I had seen early on a whole bunch of companies accidentally, unintentionally making their libraries public. So I'm going to close this and show you where that setting is. Again, we've talked about this before in the settings, the CMS settings session that covered in detail every one of the individual checkboxes. I'm going to go back here to the organization checkboxes and to the organization settings here. And in the organization settings, there's some library specific settings down here at the bottom. And one of those is to allow public libraries. Now, this does not mean allow subscribing to public libraries. What this means is allow the creation of a public library and sharing your content with the world. If you don't want that to be available, you uncheck this allow public libraries. You save your settings. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Give this a second to refresh with the save settings. There we go. And now as I go back to my libraries here, I will be seeing what probably most of you are seeing. So if I click here in Revit Content, again, the same library that I clicked on a moment ago, once it pulls up my library edit dialog, you'll notice that I no longer have the ability here to actually make this library public, because for my organization, it's turned off. Like, I don't have that ability at all. The whole organization cannot make a public library. Now, I still can subscribe to public libraries that are already available in the environment, as we talked about before. So that's still possible. Okay, we do always enjoy when you participate with us in these, ask questions, makes it more interesting for us and hopefully for you as well. This will, again, be recorded and thrown up to our YouTube channel. So if you want to know when that goes live, I would encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. But also, take and pay attention to the events page on ctcsoftware.com, because we're constantly posting new webinars and running sessions like this one today that we hope you find very valuable. With that, thank you one final time. We hope you have a fantastic day, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.